Focus is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. It is the ability to direct your mind toward one thing and hold it there with clarity, intensity, and purpose. Brian Tracy teaches that your ability to concentrate single-mindedly on one thing at a time is the greatest factor in your success. This single principle has transformed the lives of millions because it addresses something most people never learn to control: their attention. Your life today is shaped by what you have consistently focused on in the past. Every achievement, every struggle, every victory, and every failure is connected to your dominant thoughts. Whatever you think about repeatedly grows stronger in your mind until it becomes part of your identity. This is why people who constantly think about problems attract more problems, while those who think about solutions attract more opportunities. Your thoughts are like seeds, and your focus is the water that makes those seeds grow. Focus is powerful because the human brain is not designed to handle too many things at once. It thrives on clarity. When you focus deeply on something, your subconscious mind begins working in the background, 24 hours a day, to bring that goal into reality. It notices the right people, identifies the right opportunities, creates ideas, and pushes you toward actions that align with your intention. That is why people with clear focus seem to get lucky but it's not luck. It's focus. Think of a magnifying glass. When you scatter the sun's rays, nothing happens. But when you gather those rays and direct them toward a single point, they become powerful enough to burn through wood. Your mind works the same way. Scattered thoughts create scattered results. Concentrated thinking creates power. No one becomes successful by accident. They become successful because they choose what to focus on and commit to it. Brian Tracy explains that the reason many people fail is not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It is because they allow their minds to jump from one thing to another, never staying with one direction long enough to achieve mastery or results. They start something today, jump to something else tomorrow, and give up when things get difficult. Without focus, even the best ideas fall apart. But when you focus intensely on one major goal, your whole life begins to organize itself around that goal. You wake up with more energy. You feel more motivated. Your decisions become clearer. Your time becomes more valuable. Your distractions feel less attractive. You begin to move in a straight line toward your dreams, instead of wandering in circles. This is why Brian Tracy often says, decide exactly what you want. Write it down, make a plan, and work on it every single day. The moment you decide exactly what to focus on, you activate a powerful force called intentional thought alignment. Your mind stops wasting energy and starts channeling it into something meaningful. Consider how successful athletes train. They don't split their focus between 10 different sports. They choose one sport, one skill set, one path, and they commit to mastering it. Over time, their focus becomes so powerful that they rise above everyone else. Business leaders do the same. Entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs focused intensely on simplicity and innovation. Professional speakers like Brian Tracy focused on personal development and mastery of communication. Every great achievement begins with laser-like focus. Focus also determines your emotional state. When you focus on gratitude, you feel happier. When you focus on fear, you feel anxious. When you focus on growth, you take action. When you focus on failure, you hesitate. This is why controlling your focus is essential for both success and mental well-being. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control where you direct your mind, and that determines how you experience life. Another truth about focus is that it is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. Every time you resist distraction, every time you stay committed to a task, every time you choose discipline over laziness, your focus grows stronger. And once you strengthen your focus, achieving success becomes much easier because your mind begins to work with you instead of against you. At its core, the power of focus is simple. Whatever you think about most of the time expands. If you think about success, you attract success. If you think about problems, you attract problems. Your mind is a garden. Plant wisely. Your reality is not determined by your circumstances. It is determined by what you consistently focus on. Two people can live the same day, experience the same events, face the same challenges, and still walk away with completely different interpretations of what happened. The difference is focus. Brian Tracy emphasizes that your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. Whatever dominates your mind eventually shows up in your life. Focus works like a mental filter. Every day you receive thousands of pieces of information, but your mind does not treat all information equally. It filters out what it considers unimportant and highlights what it believes matters to you. This filtering system is called the reticular activating system, RAS, a small but powerful part of your brain that determines what you notice, what you ignore, and what you pursue. Here's the key. Your RAS focuses on whatever you think about repeatedly. If you constantly think about success, growth, solutions, and progress, your brain will seek opportunities aligned with those thoughts. But if you focus on fear, failure, worry, or negativity, your brain will magnify those as well. This is why Brian Tracy says, you become what you think about most of the time. Your dominant thoughts shape your dominant experiences. The mind is a magnet. Your mind is like a magnet that attracts people, situations, and experiences that match your internal focus. If you keep worrying about losing your job, you will see signs everywhere that confirm your fear. If you focus on improving your career, you will start noticing pathways to advancement, people who can help you, and ideas that can elevate your performance. It's not magic, it's mindset. Your brain aligns your actions with your expectations. You move in the direction of your most powerful thoughts. Think of someone who constantly thinks, I can't succeed. This thought affects how they speak, how they walk, how they interact with others, and how much effort they put in. Soon their lack of confidence creates the very outcome they feared. But someone who believes, I can grow, I can learn, and I can achieve anything I commit to, carries that focus in their posture, voice, decisions, and actions. Because of their focus, they naturally attract better results. Focus determines your emotional state. Your emotions follow your focus. If you focus on problems, you feel stressed. If you focus on gratitude, you feel peaceful. If you focus on possibilities, you feel inspired. If you focus on past failures, you feel discouraged. This is why Brian Tracy teaches the importance of directing your mind deliberately. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you interpret it. And interpretation is a result of focus. Imagine waking up and thinking, today is going to be stressful. Your brain will immediately start searching for reasons to prove that thought true. But if you wake up thinking, today is an opportunity to grow, your brain will find ways to support that perspective. The day itself hasn't changed. Only your focus has. Real-life example, the successful salesperson. Brian Tracy often shares stories from the world of sales. Two salespeople may visit the same customers on the same day. One comes back exhausted, discouraged, and with 0 sales. The other returns energized, confident, and with multiple deals. What made the difference? Not skill, not intelligence, not luck. The difference was focus. The first salesperson focused on rejection, fear, and what if they say no. So he walked in with hesitation and walked out defeated. The second salesperson focused on opportunity, value, and what if this changes their business. So he walked in with confidence and walked out successful. Same environment, different reality, created by different focus. Focus creates identity. What you consistently focus on becomes who you are. If you focus on growth, you become a growth-minded person. If you focus on discipline, you become disciplined. If you focus on excuses, you become limited. If you focus on problems, you become overwhelmed. Your identity is not fixed and it is shaped every day by your dominant thoughts. Brian Tracy teaches that if you want to change your life, start by changing your focus. Shift your attention toward what you want, not what you fear. Think about what you can control, not what you can't. Focus on the future you want, not the past you regret. Every time you choose your focus, you choose your future. Conclusion of Section 2. Your focus is the architect of your destiny. What you think about grows. Where you place your mental energy determines what expands in your life. The clearer your focus, the stronger your results. Mastering your life begins with mastering your thoughts. Brian Tracy teaches that everything you achieve or fail to achieve starts in your mind long before it becomes physical reality. If you can learn to control your thinking, you can control your destiny. Most people never develop this ability. They let their thoughts run wild, jumping from problem to problem, from distraction to distraction. They allow their minds to be influenced by external factors, news, social media, gossip, negativity, fear. Without realizing it, They give away control of their focus, and therefore control of their future. But high achievers think differently. They understand that thoughts are tools and focus is a weapon. They use it deliberately to shape their lives. If you want to join them, you must learn the art of intentional focus, choosing what you think about instead of letting your environment choose for you, the power of thought selection. Brian Tracy often emphasizes a simple principle. You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. This means you have the power to reject thoughts that weaken you and choose thoughts that strengthen you. Every time a negative thought appears, you have two choices. Accept it and let it grow. Replace it with a constructive thought. This is where discipline of the mind begins. A thought only has power if you feed it with attention. If you stop focusing on it, the thought loses energy and disappears. But if you keep thinking about it, it grows stronger. This is the essence of Brian Tracy's teaching. What you think about grows. Building the habit of intentional thinking. Here are key techniques Brian Tracy recommends for mastering your thoughts. 1. The daily focus question. Ask yourself every morning, what is the most important thing I should focus on today? This question eliminates mental noise and brings clarity. When your mind knows what matters most, it naturally filters out distractions. 2. The thought replacement method. Whenever a negative or unproductive thought arises, replace it immediately. For example, instead of I can't do this, say, I can learn this. Instead of what if I fail, say what if this succeeds. Instead of I'm not ready, say I'm getting better every day. Replacing thoughts is like training a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger you become. 3. Visualization. Visualization is a powerful tool for shaping your focus. Brian Tracy says, your subconscious mind does not know the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. So when you visualize your goals clearly and repeatedly, your mind begins acting as if they are already real. Spend a few minutes each day imagining your ideal life, your success, your confidence, your achievements. Your mind will align itself with that image. 4. Affirmation. Affirmations are positive statements that program your mind for success. When repeated regularly, they create new patterns of thought. Powerful affirmations include, I am focused and disciplined. I attract opportunities through my clarity. I am capable of achieving great things. My thoughts create my future. These statements gradually reshape your mindset. The danger of mental distractions. The greatest enemy of focus is distraction, and not all distractions come from outside. Most distractions begin inside your own mind. Impulsive thoughts, emotional reactions, unnecessary worries, and aimless thinking. Modern life has amplified this problem. We are surrounded by noise, notifications, entertainment, opinions, and constant stimulation. If you do not control your focus, external forces will control it for you. Brian Tracy says that one of the greatest skills you can ever develop is the ability to ignore distractions. This does not mean forcing your mind to be empty. It means choosing what deserves your attention, training your mind to stay on one thing. Concentration is like a mental muscle. The more you practice holding your attention on one task, the easier it becomes. Start with simple exercises. Work for 10 minutes without checking your phone. Read a book for 15 minutes without drifting. Focus on a single task until it's done. Over time, your ability to focus will become stronger than the distractions around you. Mastering your inner dialogue. Your thoughts are not just ideas, they are internal commands. When you say, this is too hard, your mind slows down. When you say, I'll find a way, your mind activates solutions. Your inner dialogue is the most influential voice in your life. If you want a powerful life, you must build a powerful inner voice. Conclusion of Section 3. Mastering your thoughts is the gateway to mastering your life. You must choose your thoughts with intention. Control your internal dialogue, and direct your focus toward what you want most. When you practice thought selection, visualization, affirmations, and concentration, your mind becomes your strongest ally. This is how you begin to shape your destiny from the inside out. Your mind is a powerful garden, but even the best garden can be destroyed by weeds. Negative thoughts, fears, doubts, and destructive beliefs act like weeds that grow quickly and aggressively if left unchecked. Brian Tracy teaches that eliminating negative focus is just as important as developing positive focus, because even one dominant negative thought can hold your entire potential hostage. Most people struggle not because they lack intelligence or talent, but because they constantly think about the wrong things. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if it doesn't work? What if I make a mistake? What if I'm not good enough? Each of these thoughts drains your energy, lowers your confidence, and blocks your progress. And the dangerous part is that the more you think about them, the stronger they become. This is why Brian Tracy says, your mind is a garden. You must weed it continuously. Understanding negative focus. Negative focus is when you direct your attention toward past failures, future fears, problems instead of solutions, excuses instead of responsibility, obstacles instead of opportunities. Whatever you think about expands. When you focus on problems, they appear larger. When you focus on fear, it intensifies. When you focus on excuses, they multiply. But the opposite is also true. When you focus on solutions, they appear. When you focus on possibilities, they grow. When you focus on strengths, they strengthen. Negative focus is dangerous because it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think you cannot succeed, you act with less energy. If you act with less energy, you produce fewer results. When you produce fewer results, you start believing even more that success is impossible. The cycle continues. Breaking the cycle of negative thinking. To break negative mental patterns, you must take control of your internal dialogue and redirect your focus. Brian Tracy teaches several powerful systems. Cancel, replace, refocus. Every time a negative thought appears, immediately say the word cancel. Then replace the negative thought with a positive one. Finally, refocus your attention on your goal. Example: negative thought, I can't do this. You say cancel. New thought, I'll do it step by step. Refocus. Start working on the small step in front of you. This technique prevents negative thoughts from taking root. The law of substitution. Your mind can only hold one thought at a time, so if you fill your mind with a positive, productive, empowering thought, negative thoughts cannot stay. Here's how to use it. Whenever fear or doubt arises, immediately substitute it with gratitude, confidence, your goals, a past success, a positive affirmation. You cannot be fearful and grateful at the same time. You cannot doubt yourself and focus on your future at the same time. Substitution is one of the fastest ways to shift your mindset, changing your environment. Your environment influences your focus more than you realize. Negativity spreads. If you are surrounded by people who complain, blame, gossip, or criticize, your mind will absorb that frequency. Brian Tracy recommends protecting your mental environment the same way you protect your home. Limit your exposure to negative people, toxic social media, useless entertainment, depressing news, environments that drain your energy. Replace them with environments that elevate you. Books, learning, motivational content, positive people, productive routines, success-focused communities. Your environment should support your goals, not sabotage them. 4. Taking responsibility. Nothing destroys negative thinking faster than responsibility. As soon as you take responsibility for your thoughts, emotions, and actions, negativity loses power. Brian Tracy says, you cannot change your past, but you can change your thinking. And if you change your thinking, you change your future. When you take responsibility for your choices, you take back control of your destiny. Overcoming fear through focus. Fear is one of the strongest forms of negative focus. Fear grows when you think about things you cannot control. But Brian Tracy explains that most fears are mental, not real. Your mind exaggerates the unknown and interprets uncertainty as danger. The solution is not to eliminate fear. It is to redirect your focus. Focus on what you can control. Focus on what you can learn. Focus on what you can do right now. The moment you shift from fear to action, fear loses its power. Breaking mental limits. Your limits are not real. They were learned. They were created by repeated negative focus, which formed limiting beliefs. But beliefs can be changed when focus changes. If you focus on growth long enough, your mind will replace limits with possibilities. If you focus on solutions long enough, problems shrink. If you focus on strengths long enough, weaknesses fade. Conclusion of Section 4. Negative focus destroys potential. Positive focus unlocks it. When you cancel negative thoughts, substitute empowering beliefs, fix your environment, and take responsibility for your mind, you break the mental limits that hold you back. Your mind becomes stronger. Your confidence grows. Your goals come closer. You begin to transform your life from the inside out, you now understand the foundation of focus, the power of attention, and the importance of eliminating negative thinking. But true transformation comes when you learn how to sustain focus long enough for your dreams to turn into reality. Brian Tracy explains that focus is not something you do once. It is something you commit to daily. You must train it, protect it, and strengthen it until it becomes a part of your identity. Most people begin with excitement but lose momentum because they rely on motivation. Motivation is temporary. Focus is permanent. Motivation comes from the outside. Focus comes from within. When you develop the ability to maintain long-term focus, you become unstoppable. You gain the power to think clearly, act decisively, and accomplish extraordinary goals that others only dream about. Building daily focus habits. Success is not created by big actions done once. It is created by small actions repeated daily. Brian Tracy emphasizes the power of routines because routines conserve mental energy and create discipline automatically. Here are the most important daily focus habits. Morning clarity practice. Start your day by reviewing your top 3 goals. Not 10 goals, not 50 goals, just 3. Ask yourself, what must I accomplish today to move closer to my dream? What is the single most important task? What will create the biggest impact? Thinking about your goals first thing in the morning primes your mind to work on what matters throughout the entire day. The one thing rule. Focus on the most important task first with no distractions. Brian Tracy calls this eat that frog. It means you tackle the hardest or most important task early, when your energy and willpower are highest. When you do the main task first, your productivity doubles, your confidence grows, your stress decreases, the rest of your day becomes easier. This habit alone can transform your results. Time blocking. Human beings are not designed for multitasking. The most effective performers in the world schedule blocks of uninterrupted time to work on high-value tasks. Time blocking allows you to control your environment, eliminate distractions, channel your energy, enter deep focus, produce higher quality work in less time. Focus becomes deeper when it is protected by structure. 2. Protecting your attention like a valuable asset. Your focus is your most precious resource, and anything precious must be protected. Today, the world is filled with distractions, social media, notifications, useless entertainment, gossip, and information overload. These distractions may seem harmless, but they slowly steal your attention, weaken your concentration, and drain your mental power. Brian Tracy says, your life is the sum of what you focus on repeatedly. This means, if you focus on problems, your life becomes full of problems. If you focus on learning, your life becomes full of growth. If you focus on goals, your life becomes full of progress. Protect your focus by turning off non-essential notifications, setting boundaries with people, scheduling work time and break time, keeping your environment clean, avoiding digital clutter, practicing mental discipline, limiting time on social media. Remember, every distraction you eliminate is a step toward your success. Turning thought into action. Focus without action is just imagination. Action gives life to your thoughts. When you take consistent action, even small action, your goals become inevitable. Brian Tracy identifies 3 action-based principles to transform thoughts into reality. Speed of implementation. Successful people act quickly. They don't wait for perfect circumstances. They don't wait for inspiration. They don't wait for confidence. They take the first step immediately. Speed builds momentum, and momentum builds progress. Consistency over intensity. 1 hour of work every day beats 10 hours once a week. Consistency rewires your brain. Consistency builds discipline. Consistency turns effort into habits, and habits create results. Review and adapt. You must regularly evaluate your progress. What worked? What didn't? What needs improvement? What should be done differently? People who review their goals frequently are more likely to achieve them because reflection strengthens focus and builds clarity, becoming the master of your mind. When you consistently focus on what matters, avoid negativity, take responsibility, and act daily, you start gaining control over your internal world. This is when you become the master of your mind, not a victim of it. You begin to think clearly, act intentionally, respond wisely, avoid distractions, stay calm, stay confident. Stay committed. You stop drifting and start directing your life. You stop reacting and start leading yourself. You stop hoping and start creating. 5. The transformation process. Brian Tracy explains that when you master your focus, your thoughts change, your habits change, your actions change, your results change, your life changes. It all starts with your mind. What you think about grows. What you focus on expands. What you imagine repeatedly, you eventually become. The power is already inside you. You simply need to direct it. Conclusion of the entire script. You have learned why focus determines your destiny, how attention shapes your reality, how to eliminate negative thoughts, how to build daily focus habits, how to protect your mental energy, how to turn thought into action, and how to sustain long-term focus. Your mind is the most powerful force on earth. If you master it, you master everything. Your future begins with your focus. Focus on success, and then success will grow. Focus on growth, and then growth will show up. Focus on your dream, and your dream will become real.